Hello, everyone, and welcome to Women Who Lead, our last episode of the year. Can you believe it? I'm your host, Teresa Palacios Smith, and today we're not just having a conversation, we are having a summit. This episode is called Pinnacle Leaders because the women joining me today are leading at the highest levels of our industry, not just in title, but in impact, in heart, and how they elevate others. So I can't wait for our conversation to get started. I want to introduce our guests. So make sure you grab your cafecito and let's check out who we have on the show today. So with me first, I'm going to introduce Robin Miller. Robin is our CEO with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices Arkansas Realty, and she is a trailblazer who has built her company with purpose, integrity, and a transformative vision grounded in faith and excellence. And Robin, I'm really excited and can't wait to hear all about you. So welcome to Women Who Lead.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Our next guest is Athena Petersen, and Athena is Senior Vice President and Regional Manager at Long and Foster. And Athena's two-decade journey from top producer to executive leader, which is amazing, reflects her commitment to mentorship, high performance, and lifting others as she also leads. So, Athena, I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to it.
And finally, we have someone very special to me personally, and that's Ruta Predkelis, manager and business consultant with HSF Affiliates. And Ruta is a brilliant strategist who guides our companies with insight, clarity, and a deep belief in the power of people. She also previously worked with me in our training department and behind the scenes. Right, Ruta? She was the right hand in building Women Who Lead. So, Ruta, welcome to the other side of the camera.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all for being here. And let's dive in. And the first question I always ask our guests, because I'm so interested in learning how you all got started. So, what led you into real estate, or what path brought you to where you are today? And I'm going to start with you, Athena.
Okay, great. So I actually started my career in IT. I was a developer and I worked with a team on a major telecom company designing order entry and billing systems. So totally outside of the world of real estate. But I rose quickly into leadership in that role. And then I had three kids under three. So I had to take a step back and focus on my family for a period of time. My brother was a licensed agent and encouraged me to get my license. So I took the plunge in 2002 and we worked together selling real estate in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So I was then eventually offered an opportunity to be a sales manager as well as a selling agent. So I had a little bit of a leadership role at that time, and I was also able to sell. During that time, I had, I was pulled in two different directions. I really wanted to excel in one or the other, so I had to make some decisions on which path I wanted to take. So I chose the leadership path. And in that, I was able to manage and run two large offices in Northern Virginia. Ultimately, those offices became top offices in the company. And then a couple years ago, I was offered an opportunity to be a senior vice president regional manager for one of our largest regions in the company. So I've always kind of gravitated towards helping to build people. Initially it was building agents and their business, and now in a role where I'm building managers and leading that team in my role as a senior VP for Long and Foster. So excited to be here and share a little bit of my story.
I love it, number one, how you really have that backbone and the background to really help others lead because you've been an agent. I think that's so critical and important when we're also trying to develop others. But one thing that I want people to know a little bit about Long and Foster. So I know their footprint, just it's in DC and Maryland and other areas. So just quickly, so people know the grandiose company that Long and Foster is. Tell me a
Yeah,
little bit.
there's 6 regions in the company. I manage and run one of them. We have about 2,000 agents in the region that I run, which spans from West Virginia to Northern Virginia to the DC metro market. Previously, I also ran Western Maryland, Baltimore, and the Eastern Shore. So in that role, I managed a little over 2,000 agents, 25 offices. So pretty big scope. We do a lot of things on a really big scale here.
How many agents altogether are at Lang & Foster?
We have about 6,500 agents.
Yeah, so 6,500 agents and just a pretty great footprint in that DC, Northern Virginia area. But thank you so much. Exciting to have you and to learn all about how you got there. Robin, how about you? Because you're new to our brand, and I'm
Yeah.
excited about how you've grown in your organization and in your company with your leadership.
Well, I got into real estate very similar, started in a different career. I was an accounting major working for Ernst and Young, and um, didn't like all the travel, but I was assigned to do the audit at a local real estate firm where I lived, and fell in love with the company, and finally convinced about 6 months after I was there, one of the owners to hire me. So he hired me in as the personnel director before it was called human resources back in 1986. And so I went to work for him. I just made my mission to learn everything about the company. We had property management, commercial sales, residential sales. We had land syndication. We owned about 20 apartment complexes, several retail centers, and just the more I learned about real estate, the more I was fascinated, the more I was like, okay, I'm changing from this accounting background and, come from a family of accountants to real estate became what I wanted to do and build my life around. And I just fell in love with it and started in learning everything, every division. Everybody told me, residential sales is the worst. Stay away from that one, And I was like, no. And I actually did. I loved the people and ended up buying into the company about 6 years later, and spent 38 years there owning that company. And then in 2024, the beginning of 2024, I opened a brand new office here with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices, Arkansas Realty.
And that was with Mark.
Yes.
We got to give him a shout out because I'm
Yes.
sure he's
Hey,
watching
Mark.
the show.
Yeah.
And
Big help. Big
yes,
help.
and you have done such an incredible job growing your company, and it's interesting all the background that you have as well. Ernst and Young, my husband worked with the consulting firm, and you travel so much. I
Yes.
can imagine that that was a change. And for those that don't know, I used to live in Arkansas, and I know that I loved it. Robin is in Maumelle, right?
No,
And
I'm in Little Rock. I'm in
oh,
Little
you're
Rock.
in Little Rock. Okay.
Yeah.
So beautiful areas, just gorgeous. I loved the state. I loved everything about it. So again, welcome, and I'm excited that you are here as well. And then Ruta, I'd love to hear your story because I've known you for many years, behind where you were before, and then of course when you came to work with us.
So it's interesting how a lot of people, when you speak to them about how they got to where they are here in real estate, is that their paths really weren't planned to go to real estate. It's such an unplanned route. Mine was definitely the scenic route too. I had a finance background in school, finance major, going to do finance, got in there, accounting, was bored out of my mind. And actually having to process commissions for salespeople that I knew, and I thought, what? That's how much they're making? I think I can do that. So I shifted and pivoted to sales then and just sold in different industries. Once you're a salesperson, you're a salesperson, right? But then I ended up getting into the airline industry, which is really hard to get into. And I got in on the corporate side. I loved that job. I thought, okay, my career is going to be here in the airline industry. I was definitely on a trajectory to move up. I was, sales was just easy because it was just all about relationship building, and moved up into leadership role in the airline industry. And then, 9/11 changed everything overnight. That really made me have to pivot again. Like what now? What am I going to do? Well, thanks to mom, if you're out there, my mom is still an agent with us at the Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices California Properties office in Newport Beach here in California. And she said, you have your license. Why don't you just come work with me for a while until you figure out what you want to do? Okay, well, that was what, 20 something years ago, and here I am. And so I was a realtor for 5 years, which helps me in my current role because it helps me understand my customer, if you will. And then after being a realtor for 5 years, that's when something opened up on management side at the office there in California Properties. Just so blessed. Moved into a leadership role there, ended up being one of the assistant manager we had over 200 offices, 200 agents at one point, at 10 staff. It was just massive. And that role really helped me just become, who I am today as far as working with people and developing those relationships even better. And then I was recruited over to this side, to the corporate side of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, which I love. Was in global network training, and here I am today now as a business consultant, just loving it, loving working with all our franchisees and just helping them be the best that they can be, and help them with their trajectory towards success. So,
And I think you are the perfect fit because you have all the background. Plus, then you really did a lot of the training in the Learn Center. And so you know it backwards and forwards. And that's really where the success for many of our agents comes from, is really going through the training modules that we have and all the different wonderful resources available there. So I think that is just a blessing for our organization. All right. We all know from the outside, it's easy for people to see the title, the success, the highlights, right? Everyone sees us, but what they don't always see is the valleys that shaped each of you. So as leaders, we often rise from those moments, the ones that tested us the most. So can you share an experience that, or an adversity that changed you, right? And the strength you discovered because of it. And I'll start with you, Robin.
40 years in the business. There's been a lot of storms, and I've learned from all of them. And the adversity, probably one of the hardest things I had to learn, and it covers a lot of topics that we're going to talk about today. But in 2008, you remember the market, if you were in the market, was bad. And I bought a company in 2008. It was larger than the company that I owned, and tried to merge two separate cultures together. Had a $200,000 average sales price in my heritage firm, that the one I owned was around 450. And they really didn't mesh. And all the consultants said on the acquisition, I should plan on losing about 30% of the sales staff. And I was like, I'm doing this deal to build my company and build strength. And so a lot of adversity through that. I was extremely blessed. We only lost 3 agents through the acquisition, but I learned a lot. I could not take the company I acquired and force them to be like what we were. And it was strange, because my group, when they brought the new group in, was kind of like looking down their noses going, what have you done to us? We're premium agents here, and you're bringing in, another group of agents. Well, fast forward a few months, guess who was working? Those people that were selling $200,000 houses, and the 450s were sitting, and it was bad. So that was a very trying time. Everybody questioned every decision I made. Is like literally, every day my prayer driving in was, Lord, I don't know what's going to happen today, but I trust you. And it was something, I learned a lot through that process. I reported to a board that was all male.
Oh gosh.
And none of them had ever worked in real estate sales on the residential side. And they were like, just do this, make them do this, and tell them you're going to do this, and make them. And I was like,
They're independent contractors.
you guys do not get it. So it was very interesting to walk into a board meeting. During that transition, we decided to have board meetings every Monday so they could be updated about what and how it was going. And it was very trying, but I learned a lot. And
we're going to come back to what you learned the most in a minute, because that's my next question. And
okay,
I think that will probably, we'll cover what was that lesson. But first of all, what blessing that you had the foresight to look, and maybe you didn't even know that was happening, because it did. The market turned, and those properties that were less expensive that people could either buy by cash or were able to, do you always have to have both ends, right,
you
of the
do.
spectrum when you own a company. So you were able to grow it and also uh, only lose three agents. So that's a testament to who you are, Robin. It really is. Athena, how about you?
So, every day is a learning opportunity in the leadership role, and we go through so many moments in our career where we have these pinnacle moments of learning. For me, starting off as a leader in my leadership journey, I stepped into a management role from an agent role, and I was a strong producer. But when I stepped in, regardless of my title, I still felt like I had to prove myself to this new team that I was taking over, because they were not as receptive to me coming in as their peer to now be their leader. And this is actually something that I've experienced in the different phases of my career as I continue to progress in my role. You have to really take time to um, be supportive, be relevant, be responsive, be knowledgeable in the role that you're taking on, because you need to build that credibility. It doesn't come easy. I worked really hard day in and day out to really prove to this office I was taking over that I was the right resource and person to help lead them into growth. They resisted me in the beginning, so I really had to work really hard in how could I prove myself and my value and be relevant to help these agents really embrace me. So it's not easy, and that experience did change me. It taught me a lot about leadership, and not just having the position, but really earning it through a lot of actions. And I learned that it's not easy. It's really hard to get to where we are. It takes time. It's not seamless. It might look pretty on paper with your title, but it's a lot of hard work on the back end.
Oh,
And
that's so
so,
beautifully said, Athena. And I can only imagine, because it is hard I mean, I face that too, when you go from one role to another, and now people still see you in that other role, right? So
yes.
how are you going to earn that opportunity? And I love what you said, that you really had to earn it. It wasn't just a given. So you worked hard at it. Just amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And then Ruta, how about you?
It's so wonderful to be talking with other women and sharing these experiences and just reminding us about, all the work that does go in behind the scenes and things that we have to remember to strengthen our own inner voices and noise about. Because like you and Athena, you're saying that you went through these changes and in an area and a network where it was just a lot of men. So when I was in the airline industry, it's a notoriously, lack of better words, it's called the big boy network, right? It's all men. And when, so my first year there, I won salesperson of the year, my first year. So I kind of already had this label, I guess, but in a bad way, in that, okay, well, who's this person coming in? And it's a woman. And then my manager was left. And he was promoting and championing me to take over, and it was really a struggle. I had to really I had to interview and prove to the higher executives up that I was capable of taking on that role. And then when I did get it, it was now, now your peers. So all my co-workers, my co-salespeople, they were all my direct reports. And that was tough because we all knew each other personally, right? But now I'm having to lead them in a different way and have different conversations with them. And you have to kind of take a step back. So it kind of does begin to mold you there, and then unfortunately we all know where that went. So 9/11 changed. But then the same experience happened again, which I don't want to say luckily I've already had it, but it does help. It does make you start to think about just being resilient. And again, keeping those noises in your head down that, we can do this. I can do this. I've done it before. And it's not that hard. But when I, shifted into real estate, I was a realtor. But then after those 5 years with my mom as being a team, all of a sudden now I'm on the management side with all these people who were my fellow teammate, fellow realtors, and some were, all different age levels. And now I'm coming in at a management level and having to have some difficult conversations with them, talking about their commissions and their splits and whatnot. And so, yeah, you really had to earn that. And I actually appreciated that because these were people who were high producers, high levels, and it really took them a while to come to understand that, hey, this person does support me and has my back. And I really appreciated that because in order to build that trust, there's nothing that can be moved forward. There's no momentum gained until they build that trust with you and see that you're supporting them. So it took a while, but I think, those are pinnacle moments in my career where it was, okay, I just have to settle back in. Don't let the noise get to you and say, you got this, you can do this. And there's no reason why this is going to have to be that difficult, because all it is about relationships. So just strengthening those relationships and letting them know that I'm still the same person, just here to help in a different
On the
way.
other side, right?
On the other side. And a lot of them are still there today. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know you've developed those relationships because they still, whenever
Yeah.
I go to California, they always like, oh, Ruta, so they really care about you because
Yeah.
you've left that impression with them. Um, well, what is, and pivoting, and Robin, and whoever else wants to join me with this answer. So whoever wants to pipe in, what was that leadership lesson that you did learn the hard way, right? Ruta, you pretty much answered yours, right? It was just really making sure that you let no noise interrupt how you were going to continue the work that you needed to do. But what is one lesson that you learned and how it was essential, it made you essential to who you are today because you radically did this or changed the way you were doing things in the past?
For
Because
me, oh, sorry.
yep,
Yeah, for Robin first.
I'll just say the biggest thing for me was um, learning that difference between a salesperson and having that entrepreneur personality. They have different drives, different styles, and that I don't have to have all the answers. I went from that accounting background. You kind of went in to do an audit and you were like, here's this, you would have all the answers. Here's the rules. This is what you do, and you'll be successful. And that really doesn't apply to managing salespeople or people at all. I mean, and if you try to, you kind of just dim a little bit of that entrepreneurship that and the personality side that makes great producers great producers. And so I had to really rethink of how to really deal with sales associates and what made them tick, and their own drive and their style and their approach is totally different from that finance, auditing, accounting kind of background, and really try to find my the creativity side, the independent side. And that was once I realized the importance of listening to them. I mean, I would think a lot of times, oh, I have the answer. I'm going to go in there and we're like, hey, we're going to do this, and everybody's going to love it, and it's going to be great, and everybody's on board. And you can see in their faces that they're not.
They're not.
And you're like, okay, back up, regroup. And I've had to do that a lot. And sometimes it's like, okay, I thought it was a great idea. Obviously it wasn't. Let's back up and regroup. And that's very hard to do when you're trying to lead people to really go, okay, I messed up. I'm sorry. And you'll be surprised. A lot of the answers can come from the people that you least expect. So listening for me, I was a hard lesson especially when I was merging that group together. I really tried to just make it happen, and realized, hey, you know what, guys, I'm not going to make any changes. Everybody's going to stay where they are and do what they're doing for 6 months until I get to know and hear from each of you individually. And I scheduled a one-on-one meeting with every agent and said, you know, what are your dreams? What are your visions? Where you want to be? You know, and then reevaluate it in 6 months. And if I had not done that, I would have lost probably more than that 30% that we were talking about. So me going back to, I don't have all the answers. I got to listen. And sometimes I have to raise my hand and go, I'm the mess up in the room. Sorry, let's start over. And who has a better idea? And then listening to them.
That's awesome. That's awesome, because it's harder. The hardest thing to ever say is, I'm sorry. I made a mistake, right? That's the toughest thing. And the listening is always hard as well. So I think that's very insightful. Anyone else want to pipe in?
I'll just reiterate what Robin said. I think for me, listening is a big one, and not just listening to the wants and the needs of who you're working with, but also being able to respond in a very clear way based on who you're working with. Some people need a different level of response back. They need quick answers. They don't need a lot of data behind what you're telling them on how to do things. And some people just need, a little more scope to the answers. So really responding back and being a better listener is a key factor, I think, for some of the hard lessons that I had to learn, because I would respond very quickly to almost everybody because I thought everybody needed a very direct answer, and that's not always the case.
Oh, wow. So true. Great content, great information here that y'all are sharing with everyone.
It seems that the same line and the same purpose is really truly on that. Everything is based on that trust, because until you have that, there is really nothing there. And then that's what's the real movement that's moving everything forward. So because they trust you, and whether they trust you to know to listen, or they trust you to know to help them and say something and be a little bit more aggressive, but it's that whole trust factor and that relationship that for me at least too, has been so key in growing those relationships. So,
And if you look at it, that's really what the consumer is looking for.
mhm.
Right? So we are all, a product of what we have to sell to. It's that trust factor for for that individual who is going to take one of the biggest decisions of their lives and feel like that you can guide them through it. And again, with the career, I think that's really also a part of it. So I love all of your answers and what you've shared with me. I want to shift something a little bit more tactical now because I know so many emerging leaders are watching. And I think it's important to kind of touch on what is one thing that we need to stop doing as leaders, and one thing they need to start doing immediately. And even if we're looking at as agents as well, like AI, how do we, merge into that? How do we merge into all the newness and all these things that are happening in our industry? So anyone, again, I'm going to open it to anyone who wants to answer that question. Who wants to go
I'll
first?
Yeah, I'll just, catapult again on just previously the theme, but for me, I would say is really just stop knowing and stop saying or thinking that it's just getting that answer to to people is what the leadership role is about. Or I think it's more about like what we've been saying is creating the trust, but in essence too, creating that start doing the space, making the space happen for your conversation with them, and asking better questions and really opening it up to get better answers. So I think again, like that progress is so much easier when people feel included rather than, I guess, instructed. So for me, it is more of just, let's get let's get better answers to them, but let's give them the space to have that conversation, a safe space.
Oh, I love that. It's better when people feel included
Included
versus
than,
instructed.
yeah.
Oh my God, that's very, I like that. Anyone else?
For me, I feel like stop assuming that you know what people want or expect,
Mhm.
and really start being clear about what your expectations are as a leader. And it eliminates a lot of confusion. Keep things simple, start being intentional and consistent with what your messaging is. I think that really validates and creates alignment and accountability. And I think that it's just important, again, part of the listening piece is really just don't assume you know what people want. Really, stop assuming that and start asking and being clear about what you want.
Beautiful, beautiful.
That's the same thing for me. Many years ago, we tried to clone our top producers. And it was like, hey, do exactly what this person's doing and you'll be successful. And it worked. That's not the case now. When we're talking about listening, all these people, they have different dreams, different visions and goals of what they want to do. And the listening part is so important. I had a producer that was really good and I wanted to take her to the next level. And I kept pushing her and pushing her. Finally, I sat down with her and I was like, look, I give you this great list of activities to do to help take you from, being this multi-million-dollar producer to the next level. And she looked at it and she goes, all I want to do is pay for private schools for my kids. I want to take them on my whole family on a vacation at the end of the year. And I want to be able to buy a new car every 3 years. I was like, okay. And I was like, well, let's just work toward a bigger vacation every year, that. But she was like, and I've got to manage around that. She's like, I've got kids. I want to be able to be, a good mother too. And I realized I had to stop. If I kept trying to clone her and make her what I wanted her to be, she would have picked up her ball and gone and played ball with some other company. So I think just that listening and finding out what's success to them. I can't imply my what I think success is for them to them. I've got to determine what they determine in their head is success.
Ah, that is so, again, the fact that you finally had a conversation and then pivoted, well, let's see what kind of vacation can we make for you that maybe you weren't thinking about, right?
Mhm.
Maybe it's a bigger dream vacation versus the one you're looking at, right? You're not maybe thinking big enough, but also keeping her goals in
Yeah.
line because that's what she wants. She doesn't want to be a you know that next level. That's not her goal in the business, but she's consistent, which is what we all need in real estate. Consistent, agents that consistently produce at the level that they are comfortable with. All of you lead people, right? You lead teams, markets, and organizations. So one thing I want to know is what is most misunderstood about empowering others. And I think, Robin, you pretty much answered that question because you're like, you are, I think one of them is you're putting the goals that you want for them or you think they want, but not really, helping them empower themselves because you're trying to do something different than they want themselves. Anyone else? And Robin, maybe there's another answer for you too. So what do you believe most leaders misunderstand about empowering others is really the question.
It's very similar to what I was talking, is just finding out what what they want is success. And as a leader, if I have a vision, I've got to sell that to them and giving them the freedom to help them reach the goal of my vision. If I do a good job of selling where the vision is, they'll help me get there. And that's the thing is, okay, if I have a goal I want to meet and my vision for my company, my sales associates are my clients. I've got to sell them. I got to sell that vision and those goals to them first, and just help them take ownership of it too. And they'll take. They usually outdo my visions and goals if I empower them to say, "Hey, let's reach this." They're like, "Well, I think we can do more. I think we can."
I
I
think
so good. Yes.
I think most leaders think that empowerment means stepping back and letting people just take complete ownership. But in reality, it really is important when the empowerment really means being present, having clear direction, and making sure that you have the support around what it is that you want to strive to, whether it's more sales, growing your offices, whatever that looks like. Really, you have to give that support, remove obstacles, and really empower them to move forward. I think that is the misconception is definitely when people feel like empowerment means just take a step back and let people do what they want to do. You have to be there to create that accountability piece.
I agree. Love
I
it.
agree. I agree. It's empowerment isn't about being distant, right? It's you have to put that trust and that clarity in there, but just don't be overbearing. Let them know that they're supported, and then it can grow from there. I think then that helps them take more ownership of it too.
Make
All
them
right.
feel
So
trusted where they can contribute. If they trust you, then they can contribute, which kind of goes back to what you were
and it's
saying.
on them and they feel like they have a buy-in versus you
Yes.
selling them, right?
Yeah.
I'm buying into this and I really want to help you succeed. I think that's the biggest thing because again, it's the same thing that they're looking at with their clients is I want success in getting the home that you want, right? So it's almost like we're doing our own, what we do for ourselves every day, we want for our agents. One thing I want to do is a little different, like just a real quick lightning round that still goes deep. If you had to describe your leadership style in one word today, what would it be and why that word? I'll start with you, Ruta.
Um, One word, I'm thinking about this, like one word. My mind keeps going to genuine. I just try to show up as myself every day. I am not going to be the one that's the most serious in the group. I will always try to have a little bit of humor, but for me, I think that a lot of times that helps break the ice. Some people, I just want to bring a smile to everyone. And I think, just being approachable and honest, that sincerity really matters. And I think that I really just want people to know that I support them. And especially in this time where everything is changing, that sincerity to me is really important.
I love it. Sincerity, genuine. Athena, one
Mine
word.
is mine's empowering because I really truly believe that given the right tools and resources to my team, I want to encourage them, lift them up, help them, give them the tools and the clarity they need to be successful. So that's my word, and I live it every day.
Empowering. I love it. And Robin.
Integrity. And I
Oh,
hope that's what other would say, that I do the right thing even when people aren't looking.
that's
And so,
beautiful. I love it. Which is the brand, right? I'm sure that's what attracted you to Berkshire Hathaway Home Services
yeah.
because that's part of our motto, right? So now I want to go something a bit more personal and tailored to each of your journey. And so I'm going to start with Athena. How does a little bit about your background and one of the things that you did was you went from top producer to regional executive. What did you have to unlearn to move from that individual success to leading others at a scale?
What I had to unlearn was the I'll do it mentality. I was very much in, and it's taken me, I still have setbacks on that because I always want to just do it and get it done. But I can't solve everything every time. And so as you progress through your leadership journey, you're going to learn that you have to really stay focused on what your key goals are, and everything else becomes a little bit of a distraction. And so you have to determine whether you're going to do it, defer it, delegate it, or dump it. And that's been something that I've really honed in on as I progress through my leadership career, because I'm a big just get it done, do it person. And there are some things that I spend a lot of time just doing that I don't need to be doing. I could delegate them or move them along. So that's been my kind of spotlight thing that I have been trying to focus on as I
I,
progress through my leadership
I
role.
love the 4Ds, right?
The
Yeah.
Do
three, yeah,
it,
I love that too.
delegate it, defer it, or dump it. That's
Dump
great.
it, delegate it, do it, defer it.
Love it. Gonna write
40, I
that.
think that's great. Robin, how does your faith driven, because I know that's a big part of the culture that you've created, um, shape your decision as, especially as a CEO and making those tough decisions, especially when the stakes are high or the choices are very difficult?
I think my faith keeps me grounded, but every decision, you know, I tell people, you don't have, when they come to work for me, you don't have to believe like I believe. But I do want to tell you what it means to you. I'm going to honor my faith. I'm never going to ask you to lie, cheat, or steal, or do anything that's contrary to my beliefs. So my faith really, I try to apply all the decisions I'm going to make against that background of, what's the right thing to do. I let an agent go that was my top producer one time because I felt like the integrity did not match um, what I wanted for my company, and that's hard. And but I've got, if I'm going to say that this is integrity, what I want, then I've got to stick to that. So it's an everyday deal. What keeps me grounded, and even when the business pressures are very high, I want to, like I said, do the right thing when people aren't looking. And I have a motto that if I take care of my sales associates, the money will come. Don't focus on the money, focus on the people. And that motto has really helped me through the many years of being in the real estate business.
Well, first of all, that's a sign of a great leader, someone who decides, even though my top producer, they are making, helping my company financially, it's not worth the integrity I'm losing because of the work they're doing. So again, kudos because that takes a lot of courage and a lot of soul seeking, right? And
Sleepless nights.
I can imagine. I can imagine. But you, I know, did the right thing. And Ruta, how about you leaving? You've done so much behind the scenes in training as a consultant now. How have you, been able to do your leadership in the spotlight?
I still have a hard time with that in the spotlight. Like, I, I don't look at it that way. I look at it as just being a big support, like a big lighthouse for them. Um, I think from a leadership standpoint, just the awareness of when do I step in, when do I step back, and when do I just listen? I'm not always going to be the loudest one in the room. I tend to be the more quiet one and then insert when I think it'll be something impactful. But I'm one of those that I would rather help and support someone succeed. I'm not into getting, needing that credit. I grow and feel it from the other side. And if they feel that they have success, they've got something out of it, then that makes me feel good. And then in turn, if that's being in the spotlight, I don't know, but
You
I,
have always been behind the scenes, and I think you need your due. So, again, I spotlight you because you've done an incredible job helping others succeed. I know for me, you've really helped me with this series. So, I wanted to make sure that people knew that. And I can certainly understand how you want to always be kind of the quiet one, but when you say something, it really matters. You make a big impact.
and I'm always
Uh,
the tallest one in the room, so I always tend to just kind of go like, so
that's so true.
think it's just from just
How
yeah,
tall are you?
5'10", but then I put
Wow.
shoes on and it's kind of
She's tall. Six, yeah, she over
depends
uh
on what I'm wearing. Yeah. So
yes.
I've always been the tallest girl in class and everything. So it always just, so I'm just not used to being. One good thing is that my mom would always say she would never worry about me when I was younger in the store because she could always see me over the aisle. That is
That's
one good
great. That's great. All right. So as we almost end, because we're really running out of time, I'm going to ask you two more questions. And the first one is, what impact do you all hope to have with your leadership and what it will leave on the people that you lead and on the industry you're serving now? And Ruth, I'll just stay with you.
I think still it goes back to I just hope people, since my DNA and my word genuine, I feel that I hope that they would feel genuinely supported by me and with the work that I do with them and feel understood and basically just feel stronger of the time that we're together. If they're coming away from a meeting with me or whatnot, and they feel more clear and confident in their decisions, and just basically less alone. I want them to feel less alone in a process that matters to me. So, and I think in this industry, it's really important, those soft skills, empathy, integrity, being consistent. I just think that those are really, truly important for anyone at any level. Um, so I hope to have that impact on someone where they think, okay, that's something that I should incorporate, and how they do that is up to them. But
Oh, I think that's great. Robin?
I want people to know that I cared, that I believed in them, and that I invested in them and I helped them to become better in whatever areas. Um, I like helping and serving people, and I want them to feel that.
Beautiful. Athena?
And for me, my passion is really to build and create really great leaders and have them believe in themselves, because I think showing them how they can do things differently, more impactful, getting them excited about being in a leadership role, I think is what really helps drive some of the things that I do. And, believing in themselves is really important. And so I like to lead with that because it's a tough job. And they do it day in and day out. And I just need to be very supportive and help build them up so that they can see the success inside them. So.
Oh, that's beautiful. And building that next generation of leaders is so impactful because when they rise, you see that you had a part in playing, that person that helped them get to that next level. I think that's amazing. As I close, I always like to ask this one question of almost every Women Who Lead person that appears, and that's because our inner bookshelf and our life principles say so much about us. And so the one question that I always ask is that tell me what is a quote, a book, a podcast, or a principle you live by, one that has shaped your leadership or changed the way you do business, or is part of your inner self that helps you continue to be who you are at your best. So I will start with Ruta.
Um, I actually there is a principle that is really important to me, and I try to make sure that I am that every day, and besides just being the genuine, but it's just how you treat others is really more important than any strategy. I think when that's right, everything else falls into place. So treating others and how you treat them really matters. So you can have such an impact on someone just even by giving someone a smile that is not smiling and smiling back. You may have just made their day and you don't even know how, but that is just important to me. Treat other ones right correctly.
Wonderful. Athena.
For me, I'm a big believer in the Miracle Morning. I don't know if anyone's read that, but for me, it really sets the tone for everything that I do. It reinforces how I start my day. It reminds me that leadership is more, it's not reactive, it's more proactive. And you can, with some discipline and clarity on how you start your day, you can really accomplish a lot. And so that is my go-to book,
Leadership Morning. Was it called?
The Miracle Morning.
The Miracle Morning. And I've heard of that book. I've not read it. So
It's by
Linda,
Hal Elrod. He's got a really great story about resetting your morning. It's really great. So
that was one of Gino's favorites, I remember. And then as we round off, Robin, I will close with you.
I have so many. But it's like I was saying, do the right thing when some people aren't, looking, take care of your people, the money will come. And loving people will take care of a lot of issues if you just love on them and take care of them and care for them. And they know that and they realize that and they'll forgive for lots of mistakes. And I'm
Beautiful.
always needing forgiveness. So, so.
I think that is so heartfelt, number one. And I don't know about all of you that are watching this show, but I will tell you my heart is definitely full, and certainly my notebook is full as well. So I've written a lot of notes about your leadership and the style that each of you really has transformed the companies that you work with. I want to thank you for your honesty, for your wisdom, and certainly your leadership. You are truly Pinnacle leaders, and it's an honor to have shared this space with you. To everyone watching, I want to leave you with this reminder. Pinnacle leaders don't wait for the doors to open. They build the staircase, unlock the door, and invite others to rise with them. And there's no doubt that all of you have done that. And my challenge for our audience is simple. As you step into 2026, as you look at this next year, ask yourself, what staircase am I building? And who am I inviting to rise with me? So if today's conversation inspired any of you, please share this episode when someone who you know needs it. And you can watch the replay and past episodes on womenwholeadseries.com, but this also becomes a podcast. So you can listen in on womenwholeadpodcast.com or on Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you all for joining us for this powerful edition of Women Who Lead. Until next time, remember to always keep leading, keep lifting, and never forget the power of your story. I'm Teresa Palacios Smith. Have a wonderful holiday season, and we are looking forward to seeing all of you in 2026. Thanks again, everyone, for being on the show. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank